Welcome back to the Sink or Swim podcast. This is episode 5. I'm James Koval.
And I'm Mitch Shaw. I hope you guys are all doing great today.
Yeah, it's been a while. We're doing a special Tuesday recording and should hopefully have this out by Wednesday morning for you all. It's been a ride this last month to be a swimmer. There's a lot going on. In some places, there's a lot happening really quick, and other
Yeah.
things in other areas. I would say the job market, especially. I've talked to some other coaches at meets and recruiting events, and we're all kind of looking and glancing. It's like there's no jobs out there. Like everybody
Yeah.
seems to be waiting and figuring out what's going to be happening here in the next couple of months.
And that kind of brings us to this episode where we have a lot of things, to talk about, from how James just brought up with the job market being pretty slow. And then we can go into new programs being added, the way the landscape's changing, and finally finish up with a good talk about some recruiting struggles, portal madness, and kind of just how athletes are finding new homes and coaches too. I'm really excited for this episode today, and always great to be with my buddy James over here.
Hell yeah. So yeah, job market's been slow. I think there is definitely some trepidation from these schools. How much money do we really want to spend on swimming? And we talked about it before we went live. And it's very funny that this whole upheaval in college athletics, you think of all there's Nico Yamaleva holding out from Tennessee football, but really the guy who's a household name is a swimmer at the center of all of the Grant House.
I see what you did there. That was smooth.
Oh, okay, I didn't even know. Yeah, the household name. And my hot take on him is like, yeah, is it ironic that, a swimmer, probably not the big money maker, who's really the guy who sued for all this? Sure. But if Grant House hadn't done what there's so much hate and vitriol for this man that I think is not necessarily justified.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, James, because like you said, if it wasn't him, somebody else was going to do it. And that's kind of the tough reality to get to, is that, okay, great, now swimming has all these eyes on it because this man is single-handedly changing the landscape in college athletics as you and I know it, and we even participated in. But at the same time, like you said, it's not really his fault. He's looking out for the future. And as
He's looking at a broken system.
yeah. And that's the thing, and you and I can attest to that, and either other college coaches might not say it publicly, but it is hard. I mean, it is hard to come out and try to fight for your athletes, but at the same time, that's kind of our job. That's at least the way I see it, and he's fighting for athletes everywhere. If I was swimming in Division II while Grant House was doing his thing, I'd be rooting in his pocket, and I still am. So it's definitely a hot take for sure, and I think a lot of people in our community are kind of seeing him as a villain, or even people around the world, and it's actually the opposite in my eyes too.
Right. I mean, it's going to change the landscape. I think obviously there's no doubt that a lot of these D1 programs are going to shrink. But we've talked about this before. There is so much of this D1 or bust mentality. And I mean, we've both been coaching in D3 now for several years. I've fallen in love with Division 3. I don't have as much. I know you were a D2 swimmer, so you have more experience there. But I mean, I swam with people in Division 1 who were burnt out and only still doing it because of the scholarship. It's only getting crazier and crazier with these, it's becoming a professional sport, even for swimming at the Division 1 level, where if you're not hitting a certain mark, you're going to get cut. So they're going to bring in someone better than you. And it's, if you really are that elite swimmer and you want to hit that level, I still see a path for you, but it's also at the same time, a lot of people have gone D1 that would have had a better time in D2 or D3.
Yeah, and
Now they're going to get to.
And I can even attest to that. It was the same in Division 2. I mean, sure, scholarships probably weren't widely ranged at like the Division 1 level, but there were still teammates of mine, unfortunately, not to throw them under the bus, but they just showed up because they were like, oh, it's my job, it's paying for school. And personally, when you're someone who kind of starts their career as a walk-on, you don't really like that too much because, I did it for the love. And that's the other thing. Like you said, why we fell in love with D3 is that it's for the love of the sport. And clearly Division 3 is getting way faster as you're even seeing Division 3 national champions move on to grad year at Division 1 and still make NCAAs and still go crush it. I believe there will be a big trickle down effect, and we've talked about that on the pod before, and James and we talk about that a lot in private, but at the same time, that mentality of, oh, I'm going to go to big Division 1 just to get the t-shirt. Well, that's great, but I guess that option's not really going to be available anymore. So, there are other programs out there. There are smaller schools that not only provide more learning opportunities versus a big school, and I know that experience can definitely differ, but at the same time, now it's just an opportunity just for everybody to get faster and for you as a person to get better and maybe more attention. Who knows?
I think a lot of the transfer portal athletes that I've spoken to are mostly D1, and they're looking to stay D1, maybe go down to a slightly slower conference, but looking to stay D1. That's just kind of the world that they've become accustomed to. And I totally get that, but where I think it's really going to start having an impact is these kids in high school right now who have kind of watched this happen, and they're going to be getting recruited or not getting recruited. If I'm a D1 coach, I don't have as much leeway to recruit these potential diamonds in the rough as I did before. I need to go with, if I only have 22 men, I'm going to need to go with sure things. I can't use 3 or 4 of those spots on a guy who might turn into something.
Well, and you bring up a good point, because look at our national champion in the 200 breaststroke this year. He was walk-on. He was a walk-on at Indiana for Ray Lewis, in a great program over there, and definitely one of breaststroke U's in the country, if not the breaststroke U. But you just don't come in as like a 153 and end up going 148 low. That works hard.
He came in at 158, which
was it? That's even more insane.
Which
that's crazy. Good for him.
I mean, that just kind of shows the stratification of the sport, where like 158, you're a D3 All-American. You're not sniffing D1 nationals, and he really worked his way into a 149.
Is that what?
That kind of story is going to go away, or it's going to be happening more like you see it in other sports, where a basketball player signs D2 and averages 25 points a game. Then all of a sudden he's got the offers to go D1.
Yep.
And might even continue working as go mid-major and then transfer to Michigan or wherever, for his junior year. I'm not going to say it would be sad to see swimming go that way, because I'm always for people working their way into better opportunities, but it's going to be interesting. It's not the sport that it's not the landscape that you and I came up in, that's for sure, where you really are thinking 4 years. This is where I'm going to be for the next 4 years. And yes, I still think people are going to be planning that way, but now, I mean, transferring is going to become more and more relevant. We talk about how much the transfer portal has blown up. I want to say last time I checked, there's 450 women in the swimming transfer portal right now. I talked to our men's soccer coach. He said there's 1,300 men. I know that soccer probably has a slightly higher participation level, but not 3 times. I still got to believe that swimming is one of the lower transferring sports, but do you think that'll change?
Yeah, I personally, like you said, believe that people are now taking that, how do I want to put this, that sports agent mentality where, okay, I got to look out for myself. You want my set of skills and the things that I do well, this is what it's going to take to get me. And then you're going to see that, I think, go to another level and just basically everything turn into free agency. I mean, that's the way I think it's going to turn into, whether it's, you want to compare it to the NBA, the MLB, the NHL, whatever it is, doesn't matter what professional sport free agency there is. I just feel like that's what college athletics is going to become, and athletes might start signing just a year deal or a 2-year deal, and then they're like, okay, my situation isn't changing, and then they hit the portal or free agency because amateurism's going out the door. So personally, that's the way I see it. I think swimming is definitely going to follow suit because I just feel like all the sports are in that same boat. But I believe now that we're going to see a free agency style type of system, and it's just going to be the wild wild west for all athletic coaches. And sure, I'm right there with you. Get your bag. I mean, protect yourself. We tell our athletes that all the time. You got to do what's best for you. But
and I don't hate that as a coach.
no, I don't
I
either.
think that there's a lot of programs out there that say one thing, and that's not the experience that you get when you actually get there, and
Yeah.
you have kids who feel stuck. They signed on looking for one thing, and now it's not what they had hoped for. And that's life, and to an extent. Nothing is you know what it seems all the time, but it's going to be tough. You're going to see a lot of kids making decisions of, do I transfer, do I hit that portal? And I think the thing that's kept swimming from being that sport like basketball, and where there is this free agency, is that it's just hard. It's hard to pick yourself up and keep doing this when you're not happy, and then say, I'm ready to go try this somewhere else. I'm ready to keep the grind going, the 5:30 practices in a whole new place with whole new people. This isn't a game. Like in basketball, I can go play my game somewhere else. In baseball, I can go play my game somewhere. I can find greener pastures. In swimming, it may be a better situation, but there is this weighing of, is that worth it for me socially? Is it worth it for me academically to make this kind of change? So, I hear what you're saying, and I definitely agree that there's going to be more and more transferring taking place, but I still think we're just going to see a lot of kids just leave the sport, unfortunately, rather than transfer.
Well, and to your point, I can speak on this because I played AAU basketball, which is one of the highest levels of travel basketball growing up, and I played with a lot of guys that went on to play college and Division II, Division I, a couple D3 guys, and I definitely rode the pine, that's for sure. But just that mentality in that sport, I can tell you, is that you are right, man. It doesn't matter who you are. It's that mentality is, okay, if I got my shoes, I got my bag, I got everything, I'll go play somewhere else. Whereas in swimming, you don't really see that mentality. So you bring up a good point. I think you are right to that sense that, swimming is kind of in that way traditionally thinking, but it is definitely going to be interesting for sure. I'm interested to see what's going to happen in the future.
Another change gears here, and I just want to, this is probably going to be a quick little segment.
Yeah.
And I just, when I was typing earlier, I was looking just to see if I had missed any other programs being added, but UPJ, University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown, so I thought that they were actually a D3 program, but they're in the PSAC, which is huge. It's a huge conference in Pennsylvania with 15 or 16 schools. Most of them have swim teams. And now UPJ, it's going to be another Western Pennsylvania athletic team with another good recruiter that to compete with.
Did you know that I believe the PSAC is still one of the only conferences that requires times to go to conference?
Yeah, they do have cuts.
Yeah, they have conference cuts. Like I remember the old conference commissioner actually reached out to my old head coach back when he was at Lewis, and he was the head of the Division II National Planning Committee, and they were like, hey, these conference cuts, like, what are they about? How do these look? And Roger was like, you guys are like one of the only conferences in the entire country that does this. It's cool, but it's definitely a swim conference, that's for sure. It is 12 men's team or 12 women's teams, I think, and 7 men or 8 men's teams.
There might be more men's, especially with UPJ
or is it
being
flipped?
Added.
Is it flipped? I can't. I know
there's
it's
definitely
a big
more
conference.
Women's than men's, but I'm not sure exactly, because there's a couple that Lock Haven's only women.
Yeah,
just one that comes to mind. But yeah, you have programs like Westchester in that conference that are very, very high level, and then you have some programs that I know the coach Kyle Zeller, who's taking over at UPJ, and he actually gave me a lesson when I was in high. He used to work in South Carolina, and he gave me a lesson on my breaststroke one time.
That's cool, man.
Fun. He's a fun, high energy dude. I really think he's going to do well there, but he's also got his work cut out for him. It's going to be, there's a lot of, and it's the same kind of struggles that I've had and the other coaches have had, and there's a lot of talent in this area, but there are also a lot of schools in this area that have swim teams that are trying their hardest to make it happen.
Yeah. No, shout out to him, man. That's exciting.
Yeah, yeah. Starting a program.
Not
But yeah,
easy.
shout out to Kyle. Good luck to you, man. If you're listening, maybe you're listening. Who knows? So I've been having a struggle. I've been I've had a couple of recruits that I really felt strongly about go other ways, and I'm sure this is something that all coaches struggle with from time to time. It's taking things personally versus just keeping your nose to the grindstone and letting it roll off your back. I mean, how have you been doing this season?
Yeah, I would say it's honestly the same. Going into my fourth year of recruiting, it's, my first year we brought in, oh my gosh, like 15 athletes. And then the next year it was literally four. And then it was 12 again. And then this past year we're looking at like six. So my point is, it's been a crazy time. And like you said, it's really been hard this year, especially. I don't know if with everything going on and the changes or what, but man, it's just a lot of not even responses, but more so just not communicating, I guess you could say. Like I can take a no, it's just them not responding is kind of just like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to other coaches in my league and other coaches of other sports at my school, and yeah, they're saying a lot of the same things. It's a strange year. A lot of people are, I'm finding a lot of people either aren't communicating like you said, or they are communicating, but they're so afraid to make the wrong decision that they just make notice that they just keep delaying this decision. And again, that's just something, and I'm kind of telling this for myself to kind of, as a reminder for myself, but I can't take this personally. These are 17, 18-year-old kids,
Yeah.
and I don't remember what was going through my head at age 17. So, you know,
Well,
there's a lot going on there.
and it's even different now from like, when you and I were doing college visits to even before that. It used to be a way of just kind of like mom and dad drop you off and then you do this college visit and they ask you how it was, to where parents started to come on, which is awesome. But now it's kind of like you never see that anymore. You really see that the parents are also in or are part of the decision making, like a big part of the decision making, I should say, excuse me. So you're really not only selling to the athlete, but you're selling to the parent, which we all know as college coaches is usually the case. But at the same time, it's just, I think there's indecisiveness not only from the athlete, but from the parents as well. Like it's very odd.
It is very odd. I mean, it's an interesting time. Not just obviously swimming has its own set of issues and things going on right now, but just higher education in general
Yeah.
is, there's a lot of schools looking around and trying to figure out how they're going to move forward for the next 10 years.
Well, and I know we, at least here in Manchester, we've explored, routes with associate's degrees, different types of, 3+1 programs, and just really unconventional ways to get unconventional students back to school, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because a lot of these athletes or students in general that are looking at higher ed and they're like, why do I want to go 30, 40K in debt when I could just go out and start working with no debt out of high school and a little hard labor, yeah, or maybe they find a job at Best Buy or who knows. But at the same time, what they don't understand is there's limitations with that. And sure, you
Right.
get lucky, hard work always, I feel like, will prevail no matter what, but also,
Some people are just going to be successful no matter what
yeah,
route they take.
oh, absolutely, but a degree opens doors, you know. And that's just, I don't know, it's a very different time. I feel like with the changes not only in the NCAA but like you mentioned in higher education, it's going to be something that we've never seen before.
No, and it's going to be sad. I saw Bryn Athen over, I think in Philly area, announce they were cutting all of their athletic
Yeah.
programs, and that's about 50% of their a student body of several hundred. So at that point, you're really wondering how much longer a school like that has and what the plan is to keep it going.
Or St. Francis dropping from Division 1 to Division
Yeah,
3, coming to your conference actually.
yeah, they are coming to the pack. I'm excited and a little bit scared, but um, I'm glad you mentioned St. Francis because I think we're going to see so much more of that in the next. I think St. Francis is like they've gotten a lot of flack for it, I think, from people who don't necessarily work in college or college athletics, who said, what, their team was just in March Madness. They almost won a March Madness game. Why are they going down to D3? And it's, okay, having a decent basketball team does not mean your athletic department is healthy by any stretch of the amount. And I think that St. Francis, it's a small school, and they looked around and they said, how are we going to compete with the schools that were competing? It's become such an arms race.
I mean, you got schools like Sacramento State now transferring to an FBS program, and now they're getting alumni to just donate tons of money in. I mean, like you said, yeah, there's some schools that are going to drop because they don't see the value in trying to get a little piece of the pie at the Division I level, of course, with some of that tournament revenue money. But, you know, now you got programs like Sac State that are like, all right, we're going to invest. We got some really wealthy donors, and we're going to be a powerhouse somehow. And I hope it happens, but at the same time, it's scary because you don't know.
Work cut out for you.
Yeah. yeah.
I mean, I feel good. I think it's a good little tight 20-minute podcast for you all, getting back into the swing of things. We'll be meeting up, might be on an every other week sort of schedule, just kind of talking about how things are going.
And please send us questions.
We really just want to have the conversation with other coaches out there, other athletes who are thinking about becoming coaches out there. It's worth it. It's going to be a crazy time in this profession, but we're here because, I mean, in this day and age, you got to do something that you love, right?
Exactly. And shout out to you guys. I think we have over 100 downloads now total, right? I think we're moving up in the world, and that's thanks to everybody at home just listening to us and two friends just talk about what they love to do, man. So we hope we can keep it entertaining and keep bringing you the content.
All right.
Awesome.